Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my January reading wrap up, and I'm also going to talk about some of the books that are on my February TBR. I read 6 books in the month of January, which is pretty good for me. I get pretty busy, and 4 is usually my average, so 6 was pretty good. Most of them are on my Kindle, so I don't have physical copies. But I read a lot of thrillers this month, and also some fantasies and a classic. So let's get into it. The first book I read was Little Women. I really wanted to read a classic this year, and I've always wanted to watch the movie. I haven't yet, and I figured I should read the book before I watch the movie. So I read the book, and I didn't rate it just because since it's a classic, it's kind of hard for me to rate it, especially comparing it to contemporary novels. So I just didn't rate it. I really liked this one. I felt really personally kind of connected to it because I have 2 younger sisters, and this is a book obviously about 4 sisters, and I didn't expect it to be kind of written as a lot of short stories kind of just following these 4 sisters, but I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to watching the movie. I think this is a good classic if you're kind of looking to get into them. It was pretty easy to follow along, and it was a pretty good one, especially if you're usually not a reader of the classics. The next book I read was The Man Who Died Twice by Richard Osman. This book is the second book in the Thursday Murder Club series. I read the first one last year, and I've been trying to work through the series. I gave this one 4 stars. It was really enjoyable, same humor as the first one, very funny, very witty. This one is definitely still a murder mystery, but there's a little bit more crime and heist to it, I guess you could say. It was really good. Honestly, I would recommend this series if you're into those kind of cozy mysteries or just more lighthearted, funny kind of mystery stories. This was a solid read. Then I read A Study in Drowning by Ava Reed. This is the library copy I have. And I was looking forward to this one a lot, but I gave a 2.5 star. And I will say my star ratings, I'm being a little more discerning of my stars this year because I gave so many 5 and 4 stars last year for books that it just didn't really reflect how I actually felt about them. So I've been trying to fix my rating system a little bit just so it reflects more accurately how I felt. But so it's kind of a harsh rating, but I gave it 2.5 stars. It's not a horrible book. It was just boring, and it just didn't have my attention. It's definitely slower pace. It does have that kind of dark academia vibe. And I did really like that this book kind of talks about the realities of being a woman in a male-dominated field. But other than that, it was really boring. It was really boring up until the very last bit of the book, and that kind of did have me intrigued, but most of it just was such a push to get through. It's not bad, it just wasn't really for me. So this one I probably wouldn't recommend, but if you like a slower paced dark academia type of book, it's not bad. So I'll just say that. The next book I read was Local Woman Missing. This has been on my TBR for a long time, and I finally got to read it, and I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't a bad thriller book. The first chapter kind of threw me off a little bit because it was just pretty it's pretty intense and gross. But the rest of the story was really good, lots of twists and turns. However, there was a lot of scenes I feel looking back and knowing how everything ends, there were some scenes that were kind of just very intense and dramatic that I just felt didn't even need to be in there. There's one scene I'm thinking of specifically, but I don't want to spoil anything. But there was one part that just really was why was that even included? When just to kind of throw you off, but it was so just unnecessary. So not my absolute favorite thriller, but it was okay. It was still entertaining. And then the next book I read was The Winter People, and I gave this one 5 stars. This was a really creepy thriller. It's almost borders on horror. I kind of feel I don't read a lot of horror, so but for someone who reads thrillers, it almost borders on horror. This definitely has more of a supernatural side of it, so keep that in mind if you're interested in reading it. If you don't mind a little supernatural, it kind of gives creepy, spooky. I won't say too much about the plot, but it basically follows this property, like past and present, and some really creepy, suspicious things have gone on this property, and it kind of follows a variety of people. I give it 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I kind of like those more spooky things, so that was a fun one for sure. Oh, and I cannot forget, I almost forgot. I read A Court of Frost and Starlight, and I haven't read the first like 3 books since like last spring. But I was like ready to get back into it because winter. I was saving this one specifically for winter. So read it, and it got me honestly so excited for the next one, and just dipping my toes back into like kind of the fantasy genre as well. So really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. Obviously it's a novella, so but it was still really fun, and I liked that it was kind of like lower stakes in this book. It was definitely, it was a little bit less stressful, so I liked it. For February reads, I've got a few on my radar, and we'll see how many I actually get read, because the biggest one I'm working on right now, Court of Silver Flames, obviously going from A Court of Frost and Starlight, we're jumping right into A Court of Silver Flames, and I'm about 130 pages in right now, so we just got started, but this will probably take me a lot. This will probably take me most of the month, but it's probably the best time to get into a really long fantasy world, so I'm all for it right now. I also got Mile High on my Kindle. I just downloaded it. I'm really wanting to get into that Windy City series. I've heard the first one's not everyone's favorite. I'm pretty sure it's like the male main character a lot of people have a problem with, but I feel like I have to read the first one to continue the series. I was kind of tempted to just skip the first one, but I think we're gonna at least try it. So I have that downloaded, probably more for like a Valentine's like romance read. I'm also working on Tuesdays with Morrie by Mitch Albom. This is kind of a more philosophical, inspirational life lesson kind of book. So I'm enjoying it so far. I'll let you know kind of my wrapped up thoughts if I finish it this month. I've been kind of just, this is kind of a book, it's a really small book, but I've just been kind of reading a little bit at a time. So I'll let you know when I finish this, my thoughts on it, but this is what I'm working on as well. And then another book that I want to read that I have a library copy of right now is Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. I've been really wanting to read some of his books, and I feel like this one I've heard a lot of really good things about, so hopefully I have time to get to this month, but we'll see. So that's also on my radar. So those are all the books that I read last month and the books I'm planning to read this month. If you enjoyed, please give it a like and a subscribe, and thank you for watching.